Welcome back, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in American history, the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This penny is not just any ordinary coin, it's a piece of history, a rare gem that has captured the attention of collectors around the world. With a current market value of approximately $82,364, this coin is a true treasure. First, let's talk about the origins of the Lincoln penny itself. The Lincoln cent, also called the Lincoln 1-cent coin, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and it marked a significant departure from the traditional images of liberty that had graced previous coins. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse side and, originally, the Lincoln wheat ears on the reverse. The design has seen small modifications over the years, but the essence of Lincoln's image has remained the same, symbolizing freedom, unity, and American history. Now, let's focus on the year 1970. During this period, the Lincoln penny was being minted in large quantities across two primary mints, the Philadelphia Mint, which usually did not carry a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which used the D mint mark. However, what makes the 1970 no-mint mark penny truly special and extraordinarily valuable is its extreme rarity and high-grade condition. Most coins from 1970 were circulated, handled, and worn, which means finding one that is uncirculated, with perfect details, is exceptionally rare. Collectors often refer to this coin as a key date coin. A key date coin is a coin that is rare in comparison to other years and mint marks, often due to lower mintage numbers, die errors, or survival rate in pristine condition. In the case of the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, it's the combination of its age, historical significance, and scarcity in flawless condition that makes it so valuable. Imagine holding in your hand a piece of American history that has survived more than 50 years with all its original details intact. It's like touching a time machine. But what exactly drives the value of this coin? Well, there are several factors. First is condition. Numismatists, the experts who study coins, use a grading scale to evaluate a coin's condition. This scale ranges from poor, fair, and good, all the way up to mint state grades, denoted as MS60 to MS70. For the 1970 no-mint mark penny, coins graded at MS65 or higher are incredibly rare. When a coin achieves such a high grade, it reflects not only the coin's age but also its exceptional preservation and lack of wear, scratches, or discoloration. Another factor is demand. Lincoln pennies have always held a special place in the hearts of collectors. The 1970 no-mint mark is not just a coin, it's an investment and a status symbol within the numismatic community. Collectors are willing to pay top dollar to own one, and that demand, combined with limited supply, skyrockets its market value. With a current price tag of over $82,000, it's safe to say that this penny is more than just change, it's a fortune in your pocket. Interestingly, some 1970 no-mint mark pennies also have errors that make them even more unique. Errors can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, or variations in metal composition. These anomalies occur during the minting process and are sought after because they make each coin even more unique. For example, a 1970 penny with a double die obverse can fetch tens of thousands of additional dollars, sometimes exceeding even the already high market value of the standard 1970 no-mint mark coin. So, how can you identify a genuine 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln penny? First, you need to know that coins without a mint mark in 1970 were struck in Philadelphia. Look carefully at the obverse side, at the bottom right of Lincoln's bust. If you don't see a D, it's a Philadelphia coin. Next, examine the details. The hair, the beard, the lines on Lincoln's coat, and the lettering should all be crisp and sharp. Any wear or imperfections can significantly affect value. If you are not experienced, it's a good idea to get the coin professionally graded by a reputable organization like PCGS or NGC. Their authentication and grading can give buyers confidence, and it can dramatically increase the coin's value. Now let's take a quick journey into the history and context of the year 1970. The United States was in a time of social change, political upheaval, and technological advancement. The moon landing had just occurred in 1969, and the country was navigating both triumphs and challenges at home. In this environment, the Lincoln penny was more than just money. It was a symbol of continuity, resilience, and national pride. Owning a coin from this era is like holding a small piece of history that has silently witnessed decades of American life. Collectors also love stories, and the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has plenty. Over the years, a handful of coins have surfaced in incredible condition, often found in old coin collections, family heirlooms, or even in rolls of uncirculated pennies that had been forgotten in drawers for decades. These discoveries often make headlines in the numismatic world and can create excitement and frenzy among collectors. Some coins have sold at auctions for prices far exceeding the average market value, proving that rarity and condition can create life-changing opportunities for those lucky enough to find them. It's also worth noting the investment potential of this coin. Unlike everyday pennies, which hold little monetary value beyond their face value, rare coins like the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln penny can appreciate significantly over time. With a current market value of $82,364, collectors see this coin not only as a collector's item but also as a tangible investment that can provide long-term financial security. As demand continues to grow, especially among younger collectors discovering numismatics as a hobby, the value of these coins may continue to rise, making it a smart addition to any serious collection. For those of you who are new to coin collecting, the story of the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is a perfect example of why patience, research, and knowledge are so important. Coins may look ordinary at first glance, but understanding their history, rarity, and condition can reveal hidden treasures worth tens of thousands of dollars. Imagine going through a drawer of old pennies, spotting a 1970 no-mint mark, and realizing you might be holding a fortune. This is the excitement and thrill of numismatics that keeps collectors engaged year after year. In conclusion, the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny is not just a piece of currency. It's a historical artifact, a collector's dream, and an investment that has stood the test of time. Its current market value of $82,364 is a testament to its rarity, condition, and enduring appeal. Whether you are a seasoned collector, an investor, or just someone fascinated by history, this coin represents the magic of finding value where others see ordinary change. So next time you handle a penny, take a closer look. You never know, you might just be holding a piece of history, a rare 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, waiting to reveal its true worth. Remember, in the world of coins, knowledge is power, and patience can lead to incredible discoveries. Keep collecting, keep exploring, and who knows, the next treasure could be sitting right in your pocket. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the 1970 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story about rare coins, hidden treasures, and incredible finds. Until next time, happy collecting! Today's video is going to take you deep inside the world of rare Lincoln pennies, and this time we are talking about a coin that most people would never expect to be valuable. A coin that millions of Americans have spent without even noticing. A coin that traveled through pockets, coin jars, drawers, gas stations, grocery stores, and wallets across the entire country. But one tiny mistake, one rare variation, one incredible condition can turn this everyday penny into a treasure worth more than $69,431. Yes, today we are talking about the 1972 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, its history, its hidden value, the rare features that make certain examples extremely valuable, and everything you need to know to check your pocket change for this surprising treasure. Let's start by going back to the year 1972. The United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents. Inflation was high, the dollar was changing, but the penny was still used heavily across daily transactions. The Denver Mint, which carries the D Mint mark, struck more than 2.5 billion Lincoln cents that year. With such a massive mintage, you would think that these coins are common, ordinary, and worth almost nothing. And in most cases, yes, the majority of these pennies will only be worth 1 cent. But not all pennies are created equal. Even with billions made, a few slip through with unique features, striking errors, and high-grade conditions that collectors obsess over. Those rare examples are the ones that can rise into the tens of thousands of dollars. So what exactly happened in 1972? Why are collectors paying huge money for certain 1972 Lincoln pennies? For one, the minting process in the early 70s was not as advanced or precise as the technology we have today. Dies wore out faster. Machines were less accurate. Quality control was not perfect. When billions of coins are being struck at high speed, the chance of unusual errors increases. That means doubled dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, die breaks, striking anomalies, and extremely sharp high-grade coins can all slip into circulation without anyone noticing at that time. Now let's talk about the design of this coin. On the obverse side, you have the profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. This design has been used since 1909, when the Lincoln cent was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1972, the design had already been in circulation for 63 years, but it was still widely respected and recognized. The motto "In God We Trust" appears above Lincoln's head, the word liberty is on his left, and the date 1972 appears on the right. Just under the date, if you look closely, you'll find the D Mint mark indicating that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint. On the reverse side, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely inside the memorial, you can even see the tiny outline of the Lincoln statue, which is a detail many people overlook. Above the memorial is the phrase United States of America, and below it the denomination 1 cent. Between them sits the motto E Pluribus Unum. But now let's move into the exciting part. You're here because you want to know what makes some of these pennies worth up to $69,431 in today's market. So let's go over the key features and conditions that bring this kind of value. The first and most obvious factor is condition. A regular 1972 penny found in pocket change will usually be circulated, scratched, worn down, and brown in color due to age and oxidation. That type of penny is worth 1 cent. But if you find a 1972 penny that is still in brilliant uncirculated condition, with full red luster, sharp features, and no scratches, then the value begins to climb. Coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC use the Sheldon scale, which ranges from Poor 1 to Mint State 70. A 1972 penny graded MS-60 might be worth a few dollars. A penny graded MS-65 could be worth around $20 to $50. But when you reach MS-66 or MS-67 in red condition, the value skyrockets. This is because only a tiny fraction of these billions of pennies have survived in perfect condition for more than 50 years. A top-graded example sold at auction for the incredible price of $69,431. That is where the massive value comes from, extremely high-grade survivors. Let's talk about what makes a coin red, red-brown, or brown. When a Lincoln cent leaves the mint, it has a bright copper-red shine. Over time, oxygen causes the surface to darken, moving it from red to red-brown to brown. Collectors pay the highest value for red examples because they look closest to the original brand-new appearance. So if you ever find a 1972 penny with that original shiny red color, keep it safe. It may be worth way more than you think. Now, aside from condition, there are rare errors that can make this penny extremely valuable as well. Some of the most sought-after errors include off-center strikes. For example, if the design is struck 10%, 20%, or even 50% off-center, collectors will pay much more depending on how dramatic the error appears. Another error is broad-struck coins, where the penny was struck without the collar, giving it an expanded shape. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a small piece of the coin is missing due to the metal sheet being misaligned when cut. Die cracks and die breaks, sometimes called cut errors, can also increase the value significantly when they appear on the 1972 penny. We also have to mention the possibility of doubled dies. While the most famous doubled die for the year 1972 is from the Philadelphia Mint, The Denver Mint has its own minor double die varieties. Collectors love double dies because they are visually interesting and historically important. Even a small double die on the 1972 D penny can push its value into the hundreds or thousands depending on condition. Now you might be wondering, how do you check your 1972 D pennies to see if they are valuable? The first step is simple. You need good lighting and a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Look at the date, the mint mark, and the lettering. Check for doubling, extra thickness, shadow lines, or slight distortions. Look for cracks across Lincoln's bust, forehead, or the fields of the coin. Check the reverse for breaks around the columns of the Lincoln Memorial. And most importantly, evaluate the overall condition. Does the coin still have luster? Does it look shiny and red? Are the details sharp? Does it have minimal contact marks? Collectors always look for coins with smooth fields, crisp outlines of Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat, and clean surfaces free of fingerprints, scratches, or carbon spots. If you find a penny like that from 1972 with a D mint mark, you could be holding something special. Let's talk a bit more about auction history, because auction prices are what truly set the market for rare coins. When a 1972 D penny in near-perfect mint state condition goes to auction, collectors compete aggressively because there are so few available. The record-setting examples reached that massive number of $69,431 because they represented the highest grade known at the time. These coins aren't just rare, they are the best of the best. When a coin grader labels a penny MS67 red, for example, it means the coin is practically flawless. No scratches visible under magnification, no blemishes, no fading of color. And when a coin like that comes from a year with such a large mintage, it becomes even more special because the survival percentage is extremely low. Now let's go even deeper into the story of the 1972 D penny. The Denver Mint in the early 1970s was running at high capacity. Machines were striking coins nonstop to meet demand. That high production speed allowed more chances for errors, but it also meant that many coins were not handled carefully after striking. They were tossed into bags, transported in bulk, sometimes rubbing against each other, causing scratches called bag marks. This is why high-grade examples are incredibly rare today. Most coins were damaged as soon as they left the machine. Now imagine one penny that somehow escaped all that rough handling. Imagine it being saved from circulation immediately, stored in a protective holder, and kept untouched for decades. That is the kind of penny that ends up becoming a $69,000 coin. Let's talk briefly about how copper composition plays a role. The 1972 D penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This gives it a beautiful reddish color when new. Copper is reactive, so these coins naturally tone and darken over time. That is why red examples are rare and valuable. The fact that this coin was minted more than 50 years ago makes red-toned coins even scarcer. Today we are diving into one of the most surprising and valuable modern Lincoln pennies ever discovered, the 1973 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that millions of Americans have handled without realizing that even though it is common in circulation, a rare and exceptional example of this penny has sold for an astonishing $62,908. If you are a collector, a beginner, or someone who simply enjoys checking their pocket change, this video will help you understand exactly why certain 1973 D Lincoln pennies are worth a fortune, how the rarest examples are graded, what specific features you should look for, and how this coin's value has climbed over the years, surprising both collectors and experts. So stay with me as we take a deep look into the history, the minting process, the errors, and the current market value behind this incredible penny. Let's begin by going back to the year 1973. The Denver Mint was extremely busy at the time, producing billions of Lincoln cents to meet demand for everyday commerce. In fact, more than 2.6 billion 1973 D pennies were minted, making it seem like the coin should be extremely common and inexpensive. And yes, in normal circulated condition, most 1973 D pennies are worth only 1 cent or perhaps a few cents to collectors. But here is the interesting part. Even though there were billions minted, Almost none survived in perfect untouched condition with flawless surfaces, razor-sharp details, and exceptional original luster. That is why certain high-grade examples, especially when graded by professional services like PCGS, NGC, or Anax, can reach sky-high prices at auction. The highest known grade so far is an unbelievably rare mint state example that sold for $62,908, shocking collectors and attracting major attention in the coin collecting world. To understand why, we need to think about how coins were made in the early 1970s. The minting technology was not as advanced as today. Dies wore out more quickly, striking pressure was not always consistent, planchets sometimes had imperfections, and huge production numbers meant that coins were handled by machines that caused minor marks, scratches, and dings. All of these small flaws mean that a perfect coin from that year is almost impossible to find. But sometimes, just sometimes, a few extraordinary coins survive by pure luck. These are the coins that were struck from fresh dies, handled gently, and never circulated. They stayed protected in bank rolls, coin bags, or private collections until experts discovered their pristine condition decades later. That is why the few highest-graded survivors become incredibly valuable, and the 1973 D penny worth more than $62,000 is one of those survivors. Now let's talk about what you should look for. Even though the extremely high-grade version is rare, many collectors can still profit by finding strong examples of this coin. The first thing to look at is the luster. A high-quality 1973 D penny will show a full red or red-brown shine that reflects light across the surface. The more original red coloring it has, the more valuable it becomes. Coins that have turned completely brown over the years are still collectible, but usually worth much less. The second thing to look closely at is the strike. On a sharply struck example, you will see clean details in Lincoln's hair, beard lines, and the lettering around the coin. Weak lettering or soft details usually indicate a lower value coin. Next, check for surface marks. This is critical. Even the smallest scratch or contact mark can drop a coin from a high mint state grade down to a lower, far less valuable grade. Coins worth tens of thousands of dollars must have nearly perfect surfaces under magnification. That is why many people never notice their value. You may be holding a coin that looks nice, but only a professional grader can determine if it is truly exceptional. Now let's talk about errors. You might wonder if the $62,000 penny sold because it had an error. Interestingly, in this case, it was not an error coin. Its huge value came purely from its extremely high grade. However, error varieties of the 1973 D penny do exist, and some of them are worth good money. Double die obverse, double die reverse, off-center strikes, die cracks, and clipped planchets are among the errors that collectors look for. A strong double die could be worth hundreds, or even thousands depending on the severity. But again, the record-breaking $62,908 $1,973 D penny was valuable not because of an error but because of its perfect preservation. So how did the value of this coin grow over time? Back in the 1980s and 1990s, the 1973 D penny was not considered anything special. Most collectors paid only a few cents, or maybe $1 or $2 for the nicest examples. But as grading services began to gain popularity, collectors started realizing how few high-end examples even existed. By the early 2000s, graded mint state red examples began climbing in value, reaching hundreds, then thousands of dollars. As collectors competed at auctions, the demand for top pop coins, meaning the highest graded specimens known, exploded. That is when prices shot upward. The coin that eventually sold for more than $62,000 became famous because it reached a grade level nobody expected, making it the finest known example of that date and mint mark. When the auctioneer announced the final hammer price, collectors were stunned. What made it so expensive was the combination of rarity, perfection, and competition among serious buyers. Wealthy collectors love owning the best of the best, and when two or more collectors decide they want the same coin, the price skyrockets. This is exactly what happened with the 1973 D penny. And even though only one coin has reached that level so far, the sale pushed up the value of all high-grade examples, encouraging more people to check their change, submit coins for grading, and search through old bank rolls. Now let's talk about how you can potentially find a valuable 1973 D penny yourself. Even though the chance of finding a $60,000 example is small, you can still find valuable coins if you know what to look for. First, try searching through unsearched penny rolls or old jars of coins collected decades ago. Many families stored pennies away without knowing that some years would become valuable later. Look for coins with full red color and minimal marks. Use a magnifying glass or even a jeweler's loupe to inspect the details. If you find a very clean coin with strong luster and sharp strike, it may be worth submitting to a grading service. Another tip is to check coin shows or local dealers. Sometimes dealers overlook high-grade coins or price them cheaply because they have many coins to sort through. If you train your eye to spot quality, you might find treasures others missed. Now let's discuss the overall history of the Lincoln penny design. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first United States coin to feature a real person, and the design was created by Victor David Brenner. Over the years, the obverse featuring Lincoln has remained nearly unchanged, but the reverse has changed from the wheat ears design to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and later to the shield design in 2010. The 1973 D penny has the Lincoln Memorial reverse, which shows the wide steps and columns of the monument. On well-struck coins, you can see fine lines on the building and even the statue of Lincoln inside the memorial if the strike is exceptionally sharp. Collectors love this era of pennies because they were made mostly of copper rather than the zinc composition used today. In fact, the 1973 D penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Copper coins develop beautiful natural toning over time, making each coin unique. That is why collectors often pay premium prices for coins with attractive color and strong luster. Now let's look at the current market value for 1973 D pennies in different grades. A circulated example might only be worth a few cents. A lightly circulated example can bring 10 to 20 cents. A nice uncirculated red-brown example might be worth a few dollars. A mint state red example graded MS65 can reach around $50 to $100. Higher grades like MS66 can reach $200 to $400. MS67 examples regularly bring $400 to $700. MS68 examples are very rare but can bring thousands. And the top graded example, the one that sold for $62,908, stands alone as the finest known, which is why it brought such a massive price. Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today we're diving deep into a coin that looks completely ordinary to most people, yet it has shocked collectors and continues to rise in value every year. I'm talking about the 1974 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. This little coin, found in pocket change for decades, has a current market value reaching up to $89,365 in the highest grades. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1974 penny with no mint mark can be worth more than a brand new luxury car. So stay with me through the full video, because I'm going to take you through its full history, how it was made, why certain examples are so rare, what errors to look for, what conditions matter most, and how you can check your own 1974 penny at home to see if you might be holding a tiny fortune in your hands. Let's begin with the year 1974 itself. It was a time when the United States Mint was adjusting to rising copper prices. Lincoln cents had been made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc since 1909, but in the early 70s copper prices surged, causing the mint to consider alternative metals. Many experimental pennies were produced, including aluminum cents and bronze-clad steel cents. This experiment alone makes any regular 1974 penny more historically interesting than most people realize. But what makes the no-mint mark version from Philadelphia stand apart is not just its metal composition, but how it survived in top condition and the extremely low number of pristine examples. Every 1974 penny minted in Philadelphia carries no mint mark. That means if your 1974 penny has no letter under the date, you are holding a Philadelphia struck coin. Most of these coins were circulated heavily. As copper pennies stayed in use for decades, people rarely saved them in new condition. Only a tiny fraction survived in mint state, and an even smaller number reached the top grading levels like MS66, MS67, and MS68. And this is where the serious money begins. High-grade examples have shocked collectors at auctions, reaching tens of thousands of dollars and even crossing $80,000 depending on eye appeal, luster, and strike quality. The record-level current market value of $89,365 comes from one of the highest-graded and cleanest examples ever certified. To understand why collectors pay so much, you need to understand what makes this penny special beyond its date. The 1974 Philadelphia strike is known for very particular characteristics. First, most of them have weak strikes. The details around Abraham Lincoln's jaw, hair, and coat often appear soft or slightly worn even on uncirculated coins. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial steps frequently lack crisp lines. This means that any 1974 penny with a sharp, strong strike instantly becomes a standout coin. Collectors pay a premium for full steps, full hair detail, and strong overall clarity. Combine that with clean surfaces, strong luster, and no major contact marks, and you have what could turn into a five-figure coin. Now, let's talk about circulation. Millions of these pennies went into day-to-day use. People bought candy, newspapers, bus fares, and everyday essentials using coins just like this. The average lifespan of a penny in circulation is around 25 years, which means that by the year 2000 most 1974 pennies were heavily worn, scratched, or retired from use. Finding a coin from 1974 that still looks new today is exceptionally difficult. Most high-grade 1974 pennies come from sealed bank rolls or collectors who saved coins straight from the mint. But even rolled coins often contain contact marks from bouncing and rubbing against each other. So a near-perfect example is almost like a time capsule. Let's also talk about the metal. 1974 was one of the last major years for high copper pennies. These 80 to 90% copper cents tone over time. They develop spots, discoloration, darkening, and streaks. Many collectors prefer bright red copper color. Coins labeled RD, meaning red, are worth far more than brown or red-brown examples. You can have two identical 1974 pennies in the same grade, but the red one might be worth 10 times more. That's how important color is. So if you ever find a 1974 penny with a fiery red natural shine, pay close attention, because it could be a treasure. Let's talk about the errors and varieties of the 1974 no-mint mark penny. The most valuable are double dies, die cracks, die clashes, off-centers, and wrong planchet strikes. Some doubled dies show doubling on the date, or on the word liberty, or I in God we trust. Others show doubling on the reverse lettering, or the building structure. A strong doubled die can reach hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on condition. Off-center strikes where part of the design is missing but the date remains visible are also very valuable. A major off-center with visible date can fetch hundreds to thousands. These errors, combined with a rare high-grade 1974 penny, can create extremely valuable combinations. Now let's break down the current market values and what collectors are paying today. A circulated 1974 no-mint mark penny is normally worth only 1 cent, maybe a little more for copper melt value, but nothing extraordinary. But once you enter the uncirculated range, the price rises fast. A clean MS63 may sell for a few dollars. MS64 or MS65 may go for around $10 to $40. But when you get to MS66, the coin can sell for hundreds. In MS67, the price jumps into the thousands. And the rare MS68 examples are where the huge auction results appear, with the top-grade coins reaching the astonishing $89,365 mark. This is because only a very small handful exist in that condition. Imagine millions of coins produced, but only a few that look absolutely perfect under a microscope. That rarity is what creates the high demand and extreme value. Collectors also consider strike quality and luster. Some 1974 pennies have beautiful, bright, almost glowing luster that reflects light evenly across the surface. Others look dull or spotted. Even tiny imperfections count against the grade. That is why so many collectors fail to find high-value examples. A single scratch, fingerprint, tiny nick, or carbon spot can drop a coin's grade and value dramatically. Now let's talk about how you can check your own 1974 penny at home. First, look at the date. If it says 1974 and there is no letter below it, you have a Philadelphia penny. Next, examine the surface under bright light. Does it still have the original red shine? Are there minimal scratches? Does Lincoln's hair look sharp? Are the Lincoln Memorial steps clear and defined? If your coin shows strong detail and still looks fresh, you may have a valuable piece. If you want to take it seriously, you should avoid touching the surface with your fingers. Hold it by the edges only. Place it in a soft holder or a non-PVC flip. If your coin truly looks high quality, professional grading can transform its value. Now let's talk about grading companies. PCGS and NGC are the biggest and most trusted. These companies use highly trained professionals and strict standards. A penny that might seem perfect to your eyes may grade only MS64 or MS65 under their powerful magnifiers. But if you happen to have a truly high-quality coin, grading could be your ticket to thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Collectors prefer graded coins because it guarantees authenticity, condition, and protection. Now let's talk about history for a bit. The Lincoln cent has been produced since 1909, making it the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. Abraham Lincoln, the nation's 16th president, remains one of the most iconic and respected figures in American history. His portrait on the coin has remained mostly unchanged for decades. Many people carried his image in their pockets daily without realizing the numismatic value of older or high-grade examples. The 1974 penny is part of this long tradition, but its role in the copper-to-zinc transition of the mid-1970s makes it uniquely important. If copper prices had continued rising, the mint might have switched metals earlier than 1982. But instead, the 1974 penny stands at a historical crossroads, which adds to collector interest. Let's talk about auctions. When extremely high-grade 1974 no-mint mark pennies appear in auctions, the competition is fierce. Many collectors want them, but there are only a few available. Bidding wars push the prices higher. The emotional connection to the Lincoln cent series is strong, and specialists in the Lincoln series often spend decades trying to build perfect sets. A top-grade 1974 penny is often the missing piece, and that creates demand far beyond the normal market.